morning's cabinet meeting. Before we start the formal items of business, as members will know, Jackie Ludridge, the former councillor for Brookside, sadly passed away, and it's a funeral today, so I think it's fitting that we just have a moment silence just to remember Jackie and her service to Brookside and to the borough. Thank you, everybody. Item number one then is apologies for absence. Democratic Services.
Councillor Healy.
Councillor Healy, thank you very much. We'll note those apologies. Any declarations of interest at all? None at this point. Item 3 then is the minutes from the previous meeting. We're happy to move them. Thank you. I'll sign those in due course. Item 4 is leaders' announcements. So just a very brief announcement about the overnight announcement from the local NHS trust that for the second time in less than a week there's been a critical internal incident declared following more than a dozen ambulances queuing up outside of the Princess Royal Hospital. I want to make a commitment on behalf of the council that we will do all that we can to support the NHS trust in their operations. We do that. We do that very well compared to other areas of the country in terms of discharge. But we do know the enormous pressure that social care is under as well as a result of recruitment issues and also capacity issues. But we will do all that we can to support the NHS. But we do need the NHS locally to be transparent and honest and show leadership about what they need to fix the problems that we have got in our NHS. And we do need members of Parliament across Shropshire and Telford Wrekin to really step up now. This is not a one-off and this is not normal. The amount of pressure that our NHS is under is significant. It is not normal for a critical incident to be declared once, yet alone twice. And when you look at the statistics, our residents here in Telford Wrekin wait twice as long for hospital admission than the rest of the country. They wait almost 3 times as long for an ambulance to get out to them, and they also wait almost twice as long to be admitted to a hospital bed. And we do need an urgent and emergency support package for our NHS, and also we need to understand how we can get access to more primary care so that people can see GPs and so on. So our offer is there, but we also need to ensure that government and members of Parliament in particular rally the government to get the support that we need for our NHS. Item 5 then is the 21-22 financial monitoring paper. Councillor Ray Evans.
Thank you, Leader. Cabinet, in spite of sound financial management, we've seen continuing increases in the cost of supporting our most vulnerable children and adults, and that cost has been around £1 million since the last report to Cabinet. Taking into account other budget pressures, the business rates deficit balance, and the application of the Council's Emergency Response Fund, the projected year-end outturn position is an overspend of £1.1 million, which is a small deterioration of £79,000 compared to the position that was reported to Cabinet in January. As you know, the Council's COVID support funding has been of a one-off nature and has now largely come to an end. In many cases, such as the Income Guarantee Scheme, only a proportion of the shortfalls faced by the Council, and only for part of the year, has been compensated, placing additional challenges on our overall financial position. Clearly, projections will continue to change for the year end and will be kept under review. However, it is our attention that the remaining contingency funds, currently standing at £2.8 million, will go forward to support the budget in future years. At the time of compiling the report, the projected spend for the capital programme was 88% of the budget allocation, Therefore, there will be some slippage into future years. COVID-19 continues to have an impact on our collection rates, with income collected in relation to the council tax, business rates and sales ledger being slightly behind the targets set, although this is not unusual for this time of the year. Members, you are asked to support the recommendations at section 2 of the report.
Thank you very much. Just to be clear, this is not the budget paper. This is the monitoring paper. So any questions or comments on that?
I'd just like to add, I mean, as we know with the financial team here and the cabinet member Ray, we've driven a ship across the bad waves of the ocean in the way that we manage our finances. But it is bad that the government, although they kept promises to give us every penny of what our shortfalls are, you know, to stand up and do what you did, and this council has a proud record of standing up for our residents, and we did what we were asked to do, and our residents in their survey showed that they supported us in what we did through COVID, that the government still don't give us all the finances that we lost through that, and but we will still continue to deliver for our residents, and thanks to the financial management of this organisation, we can continue to deliver in our programme of to protect, care and invest for our residents.
Thank you, Richard. Does anybody else want to... Are you seconding the recommendation?
I formally second it.
Thank you. Opposition leaders, anything from yourself on this section of the report? Councillor Tomlinson?
I just want to give our group's thanks to the council, particularly the financial team, but also all the other people on the council for managing the situation that we've had to manage over the last year. It's been really turbulent, as Richard said, and you know, people forget, you know, the bin men's turn up every week, and that's pretty much what they think the council does, but there's an awful lot more to it than that, particularly with social work and the risks that they have to take in helping vulnerable people, all those things. So a really heartfelt warm thank you to everyone on the council for what they've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Councillor Doug Moore?
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate the thanks to the teams that have delivered throughout the pandemic. Do need to remember though that we might not have had as much money as we wanted. The COVID grants have resulted in us having a surplus budget this year, and we would have been £10 million in deficit without them.
Okay, thank you. It's a point that you continue to make, which is factually incorrect, of course, as Councillor Evans has just alluded to, and the fact that we've set a surplus budget or a balanced budget for the last 10 years as a Labour council also speaks for itself, Nigel. If you wanted true compensation from the government, you might want to try and ask them to compensate the £130 million they take off the council each and every year, and they have done for a decade. And you might want to start talking to people in the social care system here in Telford Wrekin. I know one of your members is very close to social care here in Telford Wrekin, just about the enormous pressures that they are facing right now because of the lack of funding. And whilst national insurance is going up in April by 10%, and personal taxation allowances are being frozen in real terms, people will know that this council's getting no more money than before. So yet again, residents in Telford Wrekin will be sending their money off to London, to the Treasury, only for it not to return to Telford Wrekin. And I think people are starting to get wise to that. Councillor Evans, have you got anything you want to say in response?
Thank you.
It's been moved, it's been seconded. Everyone in favour? That's everybody. In which case now we'll move to item number 6, which is the medium-term financial strategy. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Leader. The medium-term financial strategy document before you is broadly the same as that presented to Cabinet on the 6th of January, together with the addition of the updated risk register, details of the Council's tax reduction policy, pay policy and efficiency strategy, and is accompanied by previously agreed strategies with updated budgets and schemes of work. These include the capital strategy, which sets out our high-level overview of the long-term context in which our capital investment decisions are made, and which is supported by detailed programme reports covering the Council's building, investment and highways and transport programmes, and underpinning these are our investment strategy and Treasury Management Update Report and Strategy, which have been considered and approved by the Audit Committee. The final part of the budget papers includes the Prudential Indicator Report, which together with the Robustness Budget Statement should reassure those who have previously expressed a concern about the deliverability, sustainability and exposure to Treasury management risk of this strategy. Can I also draw members' attention to the proposed variation to the West Mercia Energy Joint Agreement, which is contained at Appendix 17. This will result in a more equitable distribution of any surpluses, the impact of which will be minimal on this council. The medium-term financial strategy has now completed its period of consultation, with engagement events being undertaken with town and parish councils and representatives of the voluntary and business sectors who were in support of it. Nearly 95% of the members of the public who responded to the consultation indicated that they were in favour of our proposals, as were the Business and Finance and Audit Committees who voted unanimously in support of it. Cabinet, we know how hard the cost of living crisis is hitting people, and we want them to know that we're on their side. This strategy puts the residents and businesses of this borough at its heart. Residents who, in common with the rest of the country, are facing inflation rates to their everyday bills of 5% and rising. That's why this strategy proposes that we freeze our general council tax at its current rate for the next 2 financial years and only precept 1% increase, that's an average of 21 pence per week, to help pay for our adult social care, which, given the budget pressures to this service, is the prudent thing to do. Once approved by yourself and full council, this budget will put Telford Wrekin amongst the very small number of councils in England, and likely the only council in the West Midlands to freeze its general council tax. As a result, our residents will have the lowest council tax in the Midlands for the 5th year running, and one of the lowest in the country for the award-winning services that we provide. Finally, before closing, can I take this opportunity on behalf of Cabinet to thank all those staff who have been involved in the compilation of these very significant reports and documents. Cabinet, the medium-term financial strategy has now completed the required period of consultation, and feedback has been considered and noted, and following your approval will go forward to full council on the 3rd of March. You are therefore asked to approve the recommendations in section 3 of the report, items 1 to 27.
Thank you, Councillor Evans, and thank you for your work on steering this medium-term financial strategy through the council. Is that seconded?
No.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from members of the Cabinet? Eileen?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Councillor Evans and all of the team for the work that they've put in on this. I think, I completely support this strategy. And at a time when the government's passing the bill to every person in the country currently, and due to the financial management within this council, we're able to still invest in our borough and able to be on the side of our residents, and I think that is something that we should be really, really proud of. I know it's not an easy thing, and I know that the amount of money that has been cut from the budget is having effects on things, and I think it's going to affect the things that we can do in the future, but I think it is a really, really robust financial management that has put us in this position, not things like COVID funding grants, as been said before. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody for their work on it.
Thank you. Paul?
Yeah, again, thanks to Ray and the team, Ken and his team. I mean, I think after 10 years, 11 years nearly now, we can see that prudent financial management over all that time has proven that we can offer the kind of quality service that we want to offer to our residents. And we have to remember what it was like before. Let's be very, very clear where our children's services were when we took over in 2011 and where they are now, where our adult services were then and where they are now. I'm proud of what the officers and us and our community have done together, because that's what it is. It's about all three areas working together to make the best for our community. And I'm proud of what we've done financially, and I want to make sure that all our officers in finance and across the whole of Telford and Wrekin understand that we couldn't have done it without them. Thank you.
Thank you. Shirley?
Thank you, Leader. I do welcome this budget. Through what has been an incredibly difficult decade of cuts, we've continued to protect, care and invest in the borough and our residents. We all know in our own lives how difficult it is to plan when we're unsure of our finances or dealing with the soaring cost of the living crisis that we're going through at the moment. So for ourselves, without any long-term settlement from this government, it's been even more challenging. But in spite of this, we continue to invest in our borough and our residents. In my own portfolio area, we continue to invest in children's safeguarding. A further £0.66 million is coming in this year. And only yesterday, I was delighted to announce another new primary school at Oscott. This is while we are still continuing to increase the investment in adult social care of a further £4.9 million. This is the difference a Labour council makes. We do what we say. It's deeds, not words, and we're on the side of our residents. We continue to invest in education with capital projects for school expansion projects to increase pupil places. Our administration has ensured we're in a safe and secure position through financial prudence and sound investments. We deliver the lowest council tax in the West Midlands while still delivering excellent, outstanding services. And that isn't just my judgment, that's the judgment of our residents in the recent resident survey. And this certainly can't be said for some of the neighbouring authorities. The government assumption that the councils will increase council tax by the maximum permitted in an effort to prop up their gross underfunding of adult social care is unfair on our residents. I'm very proud of the work of our administration. We're creating a better borough, one that residents can live, work and raise a family in, safe in the knowledge that the Labour Council is on their side and will continue to protect and care and invest in them. I'd like to thank Ken and all his officers and team and our Cabinet Member for Finance, Councillor Ray Evans. Our team working together has produced a sound budget, even in the face of severe cuts of over 130 million. So I'd like to say thank you to Team Telford.
Thank you. Andy Burford.
Yeah, my thanks to Councillor Evans and to Ken and the finance team for this report. As my colleagues say, this is again shows our commitment to sound finances and the means to continue to invest in things like adult social care. Just a few words on adult social care, and I've said this before, but it's worth saying again, the government have not fixed adult social care. The monies that are available through the 1.25% levy are going to assist with the cap of what you can pay in your lifetime. What they do not assist with is what I'm struggling with officers every day, is the front line of social care. That across the country is in crisis. So there are real difficulties there, and we're no exception, although we, as a result of our finances, are able to put an extra 5.16 million next year into the budget to ensure that we keep our heads above water at this stage. But it is a real battle. It's the reason why we do have to apply the government's assumed 1% precept next year. If we were to not do that, what would it say? What message would that give, given the crisis we're in at the present time? We do have to do that. It's the government pushing responsibility onto local councils, but 1% barely touches the sides. But for appearance's sake, we cannot afford to turn that down. So that's really important to point out. I think we will continue to watch the situation with adult social care very carefully. It's critical, of course, to how the health service manages at the present time. We do need to be able to support people in the community, and we intend to carry on supporting our residents as best we can despite these pressures. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burford. Lee Carter.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate officers led by Ken and Councillor Evans for putting together this platform during what is really difficult, after a really difficult period, and during a period we've now got to bounce back from the COVID pandemic. There's some specific areas I really applaud. The housing agenda that we intend to invest in, New Place in particular, the growth of New Place, more than 400 houses that we currently own and build, over 1,000 people live in them. We want to expand that. That's fantastic news. An excellent landlord, excellent reputation as a landlord, affordable rents frozen for the last 2 years within that portfolio, and plans to expand that further. As part of that, also Telford Wrekin homes, where we look to expand that initial 100 homes that we want to purchase as part of that programme, specifically providing affordable homes to rent for care leavers, key workers and veterans. That again is fantastic. Also the growth agenda that we've invested in heavily over the last decade or more, which has created 1,000 jobs, protected 250 more jobs, generated £500,000 in business rates for the authority, aiming to support everything from the next Magna coming into Telford and Wrekin to small businesses that are looking to move into their own units. We developed small business units in Hortonwood, for instance, the first for a generation. Continued investment into our high streets right across the borough has surely got to be welcomed, from Newport, Wellington, Dawley, Madeley, Open Gates and Iron Bridge, supporting new businesses to relocate into the high street, supporting existing businesses to diversify, and also that physical regeneration that we've seen take place. Definitely want to see the continuation of that programme, which has effectively seen the bounce back of the high street in Telford and Wrekin, whilst the government are still thinking about what they want to do in terms of getting high streets to bounce back. Further investment into ensuring that every neighbourhood across Telford and Wrekin is green and clean, enhancing that offer where we can. We've seen investment into community action teams, 13 community action teams active right across Telford and Wrekin, and ensure that work continues to be delivered. An investment into stronger communities as well, right across Telford and Wrekin. I'm sure others might cover this, but investment into CCTV, activities for young people, tackling antisocial behaviour, really being on the side of each and every one of our residents. This is a solid base, but it's also a really progressive, exciting budget that will see us through the next couple of years, and all the time, as I've said, against this backdrop of uncertainty from the national picture. There is no clear direction forward from the government. High taxes, low growth, mood music already coming from number 11, that the way they will pay back the borrowing that they had to do for the COVID pandemic is by loading that onto the shoulders and the backs of the poorest, but also the shoulders of the front line, because we've been at the front line of this. Really pleased to support this, and congratulations again to Ken and Ray Evans for the work that's gone into putting this together.
Thank you, Lee. Callie?
Also I want to say thank you to Ray and the team. It's fantastic. Also I'm really proud of our investment into leisure services and the fantastic offer we have as a result of maintaining and investing in our leisure centres when many councils didn't, and we own and manage our services, which is fantastic. And I've been around, and the services we offer and how competitive our offer is fantastic. But not only that, investing in holiday activities for £1 for the families in our communities, the swimming, the skiing, the ice skating, which enables our families to get out during the holidays and enjoy what we provide. And investing in services for public health. We have an excellent third sector offer, which is unrivalled, I think, across nationally. When I've been in other places, we've got a fantastic offer with mental health, addiction, sexual health services, and the work and investment into those really makes a difference to providing accessible services within the heart of our communities for people when they need them. So thank you for that, and providing that support and investment.
Thank you, Kelly. Richard?
Yeah, again, a big thanks to Ray, Ken and the team in delivering sound financial management of our budgets. This budget is, as the consultation has finished, people are proud of what we are doing, we're delivering, and this budget puts investments into our borough towns, to our infrastructure, and making our towns safer and stronger. And we, as an authority, have recognised our residents will be struggling. The increasing cost of fuel in your home, the increasing cost of filling your tank. There is a cost of living crisis, and we've decided that we want to freeze our council tax to try and help make it a little bit better for our residents. This is in contrast to the government, which wants to increase national insurance levels, freeze allowances, but at the same time give dodgy contracts to its friends, wasting billions of pounds which could have been helped and supporting our residents. And also the car taxpayers of our borough who pay their taxes and see no investment from them in our roads and footpaths. But this administration is investing in our roads and footpaths because we know people care about how they get to work or travel across our town. This is a budget that we can be proud of, a budget that invests into social care, and we know the NI increases are supposed to do some ways of solving social care, but most of it's going to the NHS, and we can see that they need that, following last night's pictures of Sean shared on social media and the crisis they're finding themselves in. And as somebody who knows the other side of the coin of social care, it does need investment. It does need people to take up the arms and get into social care to try and get people out of the hospital where they shouldn't be. But, you know, this is a budget we can be proud of, but it'd be nice if the opposition at this council would support this budget at the full council and also start criticising its government when it wastes billions and billions of pounds, but all it gives is a £150 voucher to those in some households who are going to be really struggling this year. So this is a great budget, one that we can strongly say to our residents, we're on your side and we're going to protect, care and invest like our manifesto commitments.
Thank you, Richard. Just before I go to the opposition leaders, Ken, can I just ask you, Section 151 officer, just to confirm that this budget that's in front of us is sustainable in your view?
It absolutely is, Sean. Yes, there's a long statement where I explain that I believe it is.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the opposition group leaders?
First part as an accountant really is it's how frustrating it is when you're trying to put a budget together and you haven't got all the figures, and your report actually says that you've still got funds. You're not 100% sure of getting it from the government because they still haven't given you, when this report was written, the details. And when you think we go live on the 1st of April, you think, come on, you know, it won't be just our local authority, other local authorities from down the country. We need this information. I couldn't help but think if we were trying to help Boris refurbish his flat, we'd have probably got the figures straight away. But in the face of that, it is frustrating. I very much welcome the investments in New Place, into housing, the growth fund, the industrial growth fund. I've often said that if it wasn't for social housing and for the things that we're doing towards housing, housing doesn't always come through the private market, through the private sector. They can't, they have to make a profit, and yet people need affordable homes. It comes down to people like us to try and help provide people with affordable homes because the private market can't. So there's a huge role there for local authorities, so I welcome what we're trying to do along that line. Obviously myself with the Shawbirch East site on the doorstep, I know it's down for industrial land. What a wonderful opportunity if it's got to be developed to be another solar farm. We've had such success with the one down the road. We could provide clean energy and provide the electricity to our Princess Royal Hospital, so just bear that one in mind if you could, if you can't keep it green. We often say that when we increase expenditure on adult and children's social care, it's an investment. Well, it isn't. It's an investment, but it's demand-led. It's not as if we're going to say, well, do you know what, next year we're going to spend £5 million extra on adult social services. It seems like a good idea. We haven't got a choice. If you really want to look after people and they are in need, the money has to be provided. We're having to look for savings and income generation of an extra £5 million to try and help towards that. I acknowledge that the government have given 2 additional grants which hopefully should be ongoing, and they are very welcome, so I'm thanking the government for those grants that are coming. Still not enough for the actual demand that we're seeing out there for children and for adults, but it's a start. I really do welcome this year that we are keeping our general increase down to 0 and only putting the 1% up, and our group will fully support this when it comes to the to council, full council on the 3rd of March. We may have actually supported it last year, which I know some of you are really, really upset about, and I'm still there to give you a hug if you need it. But had you maybe been able to reduce the council tax last year, we'd have looked to have supported it then, but we're really welcome. We can't commit to supporting it for the following year, although we would love to.
But we need to see what the detail is, and also the circumstances where the savings can be made and whether we can still afford to not put our council tax increase up with not such a benevolent government that we have. For overall, we support this budget.
Thank you, Bill. Councillor Dugmore?
Yeah. So, well, is the type of budget we've grown used to on this firm foundation of debt, another £97 million, which you wonder how it's going to be paid back and who's going to pay it back. The council tax freeze, yes, it's a good headline, but 21p a week. They mentioned about the £150 voucher to hard-pressed households. Well, to save the 21p a week will take 13.5 years to actually get 150 quid. So although the headlines are very fancy and it sounds good, as usual, the devil's in the detail.
So, thank you, Councillor Dugmore. I just want to make a few comments myself. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you to every member of our staff here at Telford Wrekin, from the frontline officer to every member of the senior management team, for their contribution alongside this administration for not just designing and delivering this budget, but also what this budget enables us to do, which is to invest, care and protect in our borough. The budget enables us to do what this government doesn't do, which is to believe in Telford and Wrekin and to invest in Telford and Wrekin. And I think we all should be supportive of the approach that this administration has taken over the last 11 years, which is a direct contrast to Shropshire Council, the Conservative-run council, who are, quite frankly, a basket case of a council who can't even fix the roads in their county area, yet alone anything else. And I will not take any lessons from Councillor Dugmore about a 21 pence a week increase in council tax for our residents, when one, that's a government-imposed levy that every council in the country, regardless of political persuasion, is imposing upon their residents, ring-fenced for adult social care. Councillor Dugmore, name me a Conservative council in the country that is not imposing the adult social care levy. You can't, because you come here and you play the party politics game rather than look at the bigger picture. And I've got to say that my role at the Local Government Association, I work with Conservative leaders every day of the week, and they don't play that game. They understand that regardless of the political persuasion of the council you're under a huge amount of restrictions. And what I don't understand is that Conservative members of the Finance and Budget Scrutiny Committee have voted in support of this budget. So what is it? What is the position of the Conservative group, Nigel? Is it your position that you don't think this is the right budget, that you are against and you're arguing against, or is it what your members are doing on the Finance and Budget Committee by voting for the budget? And I want to talk about council tax too. I and this council gave a rallying call out to every organisation that has an impact on the council tax. So Telford Wrekin Council will freeze its general council tax. A 1% government levy for adult social care. The vast majority of parish and town councils that also have a line on the council tax bill are also freezing their council tax bill. Unlike Conservative run Wellington Town Council, where Conservative councillors voted to increase the council tax at Wellington Town Council. What other elements of the council tax do we have? The Fire Authority yesterday met a Conservative chair of the Fire Authority. What did they want to do? They wanted to increase the council tax by 2%. It was Labour who opposed that on the Fire Authority yesterday with the Lib Dem support, and that budget could not be passed yesterday. And I do hope that Eric Carter, the chairman, the Conservative chairman of the Fire Authority, comes back with plans to freeze council tax for the Fire Authority. And what other element of the council tax bill do we have? We have the Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner, who puts up council tax by a further 4%, on top of almost double-digit increases over the last 4 years to the council tax bill. So, Nigel, you can't have your cake and you eat it. You can't criticise this council for having the lowest council tax in the Midlands, for being the only council in the country to commit to freeze council tax this year and next, whilst your mates are Wellington Town Council, your mates at the Fire Authority, and your mate, the Police and Crime Commissioner, is hiking up council tax bills, and residents will know that it's any increase on the council tax bill is a result of Conservative politicians and not Labour politicians. I'm glad, Bill, that you are going to be supporting the budget this year. It's always hard when you see a friend make a wrong decision, and so we're glad that you're correcting that wrong decision from last year. But it's also important to note that there's been no alternative budget, again, from the main opposition parties here in Telford Wrekin. All very good at chasing the headline and doing the Facebook post, but not good at putting alternative budgets forward. But what more we can do if we had our fair share of government funding in Telford Wrekin. I'm seeing right across the country and in the region the government spending and providing hundreds of millions of pounds of grants to local areas through Levelling Up. What have we got here in Telford Wrekin? A £23 million grant, and we're told to be pleased about that, and we're told to be pleased about all the work that's taking place in other areas of the region rather than what's happening in Telford Wrekin. This administration will not cap our ambition at £23 million of Levelling Up funding. We want more. We want our fair share of government grants. And then just finally, I think it's really important that if the Conservative group are going to vote against this budget, that they come forward with the alternatives that we can consider and not just vote against it for the sake of voting against it. And if they're going to do their usual trick, which is to vote it down, talk it down, shout it down, but then go and vote for it when it comes to a recorded vote, then quite frankly, you've got to question the personal integrity of councillors who play that type of game. It's been moved. Oh, Ray.
Well, I will come back on the debt question. We all question debt. We all think carefully when we take out a loan about the benefits of it. And this organisation, as we would as individuals, does exactly the same, but probably with much more rigour. I did say in my presentation, for those who are worried about our debt, there are a set of documents in this report which advise on that. There's the Prudential Indicators report, there's the Robustness Statement, there's a document, item 5 here, the financing costs to revenue. I can only assume, Nigel, you haven't read them, because those should absolutely reassure you. Yeah. Well done, that man. That the borrowing that we're taking out is against assets. It's against assets, it's secure. And if you had, there's no reason why you should have, but if, like me, you had attended the audit committee where there was a training session, you would have heard our advisor saying, this is the best time to take out a loan. So I am very confident, as are my colleagues, that what we are doing is sensible and it's prudent.
Yes, well said. Thank you very much, Ray. And also just on that issue of debt, it's the contrast down the M54 of a council borrowing hundreds of millions of pounds to our shopping centre, wanting to buy an additional £70 million for a facelift of Shrewsbury Centre. And this is the difference between those councillors who are in power and those who aren't. Cheap criticisms, either not understanding the detail or understanding it and trying to mislead people, is what residents will see through. And if you're not in favour of the investment, tell us which council tax element you will increase, which service you will reduce, which project you will stop. That's been a very good discussion and debate, so we'll take it to the vote now. So all those in favour? Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing the vote at full council. We'll now move on to item 7 then, which is the Donnington and Muxton Neighbourhood Development Plan proceeds to making the NDP. Councillor Overton.
Thank you, Chair. As a proactive council, we've always supported those parish and town councils who wish to produce a neighbourhood plan, and currently have 6 adopted neighbourhood plans. This report recommends that following the positive result of the outcome of the referendum on the 25th of January, that the Donnington and Muxton Parish Neighbourhood Plan become the 7th neighbourhood plan in the borough to be adopted and sit alongside the Telford and Wrekin local plan in determining plan applications in that area. I move the recommendation.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on this from the Cabinet members? No? Opposition members? Nigel?
Yeah, thanks. As a member of the parish council, I didn't declare an interest because I'm not really properly in the meeting. I don't know if Richard should have declared an interest, but anyway, no, I welcome the adoption or the progress that the neighbourhood plan adoption is making, and I just hope that it is considered thoroughly at planning committee, because very often neighbourhood plans are ignored. So I do hope that it doesn't, and I do encourage every area to have a neighbourhood plan.
Are you making the assertion that the planning committee or planning officers are acting illegally, or so you just said that the local planning are being ignored?
Well, sometimes, yes.
So you're saying, and you're saying that's illegal or improper, are you?
No, I'm not saying it's illegal,
Okay.
because
So
it's a relevant consideration.
That's fine.
Isn't it? Just like the local plan.
Okay. So
but there are policies in place and procedures in place to go against.
No, that's fine. So as long as you're not alleging any improper behaviour by planning committee members or planning officers. Well, you just said it. So we just wanted to clarify that, because of, it has been an issue before, hasn't it? So it's been moved. It's been seconded. All those in favour? Everybody, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gavin, for your work on that. We move now to our final item on the agenda, which is the Telford and Wrekin plan 22-23 to 24-25, and this is a plan to protect, care and invest for our borough, and this underpins the work that we've done with the medium-term financial strategy. It's our vision for our borough, and I just want to run through some key facts for us as a borough. We've already heard about our council tax today, and we have got the lowest council tax in the Midlands. I know opposition members don't like to hear that, but it is a fact that we have the lowest council tax, far lower than Conservative controlled councils across the region. But if you look at just the gulf between our council tax base and that of the highest in the region, if we were to put our council tax up to the highest council level in the region, we would be charging our residents £477 a year more. £477 a year more, which is the equivalent of a 33% increase on our council tax if we were to do that. So we are absolutely, as part of our plan for Telford Wrekin, we want to keep our council tax as low as possible and the lowest in the region. Over the last 5 years, the council has protected over 1,000 hectares of green space through the Green Guarantee and the creation of local nature reserves. And that's the equivalent of 1,800 football pitches of green land that we have protected, and we are going to protect more green space with more local nature reserves. And I know those people who want to talk Telford and Wrekin down talk about the lack of green space. In fact, if you look at all the regional and national indicators, we've got more protected green space than the vast majority of the country. We all know, and we are all very proud of the fact that our children's services and our adult social care services have been rated outstanding and exceptional by CQC, Ofsted and external peer review teams, and we want to make sure that our people services, those services that, let's be very honest about it, the vast majority of our residents do not access, but those who need to and will do, we want to make sure that those services are as good as they can be, and they are nationally recognised for what they do. We've all heard about New Place Homes, and we are very, very proud of the work that we have done around New Place. Over 1,000 residents now live in a New Place home. We are the largest private sector landlord in Telford and Wrekin. When we set up New Place, there was a number of aims. The first aim was to bring forward derelict brownfield land owned by the council or the public sector, and that is what we have done. We wanted to ensure that tenants had a landlord that they could trust, that as long as they paid their rent and were good neighbours, they had a house for life, and that's what they've got. And we've also wanted to increase the acceptable standard of what private sector renting looks like in Telford and Wrekin, and we know from speaking to our New Place residents that that certainly is the case. But we've also ring-fenced that money to go directly into frontline services, and those people who voted against and opposed New Place do now, I think, accept its benefit, and 96% of our tenants tell us that they would recommend New Place to their friends or family. We've invested significantly, again, despite the objections, and we've heard some of those objections again this morning, in our property and regeneration fund, which has built factory units, built assets that not only has returned a surplus to the council, but has also created thousands of jobs and protected thousands of jobs. And we will never apologise for being business winning, business supporting. and we're driving through more regeneration with our high streets and Station Quarter, where we are sitting at the moment, will be transformed as a result of a £100 million package of investment that this council has put together. And we are one of the top rated local authorities for the condition of roads, and that's a result of the £50 million that we've spent investing in roads and footpaths. And we've heard about leisure services, council owned and council managed, fantastic first class facilities not farmed off to the private sector. We've heard about the community relationships and partnerships that we've got that we take now for granted. Things like the crisis network that we as a council gave birth to is now an autonomous organisation doing an amazing thing with the support of our council, and there are many other voluntary sector organisations that do that. Our visitor economy piece, which is about making sure that people come and spend money here in Telford Wrekin, complementing the fantastic events programme that we've got. Telford Wrekin has a fantastic amount to offer its residents, those people who work here in Telford Wrekin and people who want to visit in Telford Wrekin. We're a fantastic place, and as long as Labour is in control of the council will be financially stable. It will continue to invest, protect and care. It will continue to have confidence and, in the borough. And those people who seek to talk down our borough do so at the expense of our borough. And what they should do is do what we do, which is to believe in Telford and Wrekin. And this policy document and our council plan underpins the next year or two's worth of investments. Is that so? I propose the recommendations. Seconded.
Yeah. I think it's, you know, this is a journey we've been on for quite a long time, and all the investments we make, there are reasoning behind that, because we want to create a better borough, and we continue to work to create a better borough, working with our communities. We have, you know, if you read the document, you know, at the heart of everything we do is tackling inequalities in our borough, which is key to delivering and making our economy strong in all areas of our borough, and working in partnership with the third sector, working in partnership with parish and town councils. We want to make Telford a place that I've always been proud of living and working and being born here, but I think new people are coming here and they need to see that this council is on their side, and all the investments we're doing, the way that we're tackling the environmental crimes, etc., through our enforcement agenda, it's key that we want to keep this town cleaner, greener and safer, and that's what this plan delivers.
Excellent, thank you, Richard. Councillor Watt then?
Yeah, thanks Leader. Yeah, it's a great plan, and it is good for the future of Telford and Wrekin. What we said earlier about that partnership between the council and local communities is so true. Our cooperative values lead us to work in partnership with our communities in a different way, and have done over the last 10 years. And I think it's outstanding when I look at what we achieve in partnership with our communities and with the third sector in Telford and Wrekin, and what we achieve because of that partnership, the work we do with homeless people and street sleepers across Telford and Wrekin, what we do with the crisis network, as the leader has already said, what we do with our small trusts that have kept our community centres open, where in other places community centres have closed. Those community centres are the hubs for our for our future, and for working with us on dealing with some of the terrible things that have happened because of the austerity measures that have been forced onto this council. We've said we're not going to stand by and just close things and walk away from our communities, and I think what we're doing by investing with this plan for the future is amazing. It's actually, we shouldn't be able to do this, and we've been able to do it because of our prudent financial management, and because our belief in our community, and our belief that our community knows that we are with them, we are there working alongside them, and I'm proud of what we've achieved over the last 11 years and what we're going to achieve over the next 5.
Thank you very much. Eileen?
Thanks, Leader. Yeah, this plan, you know, protect, care and invest. Who wouldn't want to do that in their borough? So it's at the heart of everything that we do. So if you look at the plan, protecting outdoor spaces, our green spaces, investment in our high streets that's been mentioned previously, you know, the council's been at the forefront of leading the way on climate change, which I think is something that we should be really proud of. investment made to create better housing and employment opportunities. You know, all of these things are so important for when you're addressing inequalities. So if you look at the skills and education, you know, people with NVQ level 4s has increased by 30.4%, which is huge. You've got the Telford land deal, which is that's delivered over 600 new homes and 1,250 new jobs. So, you know, and I must mention again the leisure facilities, because I think that is again at the heart of some of the things that we do. That is creating good opportunities for people to lead better lives within our borough, and I think it's really important. So, you know, together this Labour Council will continue to create that better borough that we're always speaking of. So thanks for delivering.
Thank you. Kelly?
I too was born and raised in Telford Wrekin, which I'm very proud of, and proud to be part of this council. This plan, I think, represents Telford Wrekin perfectly. As somebody, as I say, who was raised here, that fits, doesn't it? And I think all the things we do are about the community, which is the core of everything we do. We have a fantastic community here in Telford Wrekin. The community spirit is amazing. never ceases to amaze me. Sorry, and I think it's a fantastic plan, and really at the heart of everything that we're about in Telford and Wrekin, and everybody should be proud to be from here, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Excellent. Any comments or questions from the opposition leaders?
Yeah, there's a lot to be welcomed and to be, you know, applauded in this plan. My passion amongst all of it really is the green aspects. You know, when I came to Telford, and when many people living in Telford, it's our town park that was left to us by the TDC. It's all the green areas which you've now adopted, and I really applaud the other natural reserves that you created. We've also put planning rules into place so that we look for urban greening and biodiversity. I don't think residents fully realise that when we build houses or allow houses to be built in the borough, they think it's the naughty and horrible local authorities' fault, and they don't want any houses built. And I can understand that until you want to find a home for yourself. However, we do have targets set to us by government, and the main thing that we can do as a local authority is find out where those houses should be built. Now I say that because what's that got to do with this is that we have a duty to try and make sure that even when houses are built, we look for biodiversity, we look for greening, if not necessarily on those sites, but elsewhere. So we have a duty to try and keep our borough as green as possible. So to that end, I would love more trees, more and more trees on our green and open spaces. And maybe as a thought, if you can't have a site which is being built on and you can't provide the greening on there, you can sometimes go to other sites which are provided, where you can say, well, we'll plant the trees, we'll do the biodiversity. Well, maybe we as a local authority could look for those sites ourselves and offer developers, we could purchase the land and say, look, we can now offer you within our borough sites that you can put that 106 money into for biodiversity and urban greening. And I think it's a real opportunity for us. But I think when you look at climate change, particularly, our children and our grandchildren are going to be looking to us and saying, what did you do to try and save our planet from climate change? And trees and trees and trees are one of the biggest things that we can do. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I mean, we've got over 5 million trees here in Telford Wrekin, and we're going to be planting even more. We're going to be planting even more trees, and we'll be planting a tree for every primary school pupil that we have here in Telford Wrekin, so that those children can watch those trees grow as they grow in Telford and Wrekin. I think I absolutely agree with you around the misinformation that is peddled by some around development. And you only have to we could go to any area of the country and you see houses being built. You know that the government has a 3 million houses a year plan. 300,000, yeah, 300,000, 3 million over 10 years, houses to be built. And we have to be real about that. in terms of your idea around the getting green land and maintaining it in the way that you do, I would love to do that. The problem you've got, Bill, as you absolutely know, is that the ability for developers, particularly large-scale national developers, to challenge the council on sustainability grounds means that local decisions are often overturned by government inspectors, and we've seen that time and time again. We've seen that in Wellington with Haygate Field, where the council declined the application, but only for it to be overturned by a government inspector. There's a number of other examples where that's taken place. But what we are absolutely committed to doing is to be protecting and investing in green space here in Telford Wrekin. And as I say, if you look at the regional and national comparators, we do very, very well. And I often think, actually, that people who talk about Telford Wrekin not being a green space don't actually know Telford Wrekin. You only have to go for a walk, less than 20 minutes. Most people are in a high-quality green space, and we want to do more around that. And that links to my comments earlier around if the government were to provide funding to councils, and this council in particular, to the levels that it used to be the case, and that levelling up funding that we could access, we could do far more than we're doing as well. Councillor Dugmore?
Yeah, just the council plan, the interesting mix of aspiration and results. So I was just got one question on ensure, because it says on the first page, ensuring that every resident has a decent place to live, and then underneath that it said this commitment has now been delivered. So is that an aspiration or is that a result?
So what we've got is a suite of support around housing, Nigel, as you are aware. So we've got New Place, clearly, that directly offers high quality homes for rent. We've got a tough enforcement regime, so that if there are landlords who are exploiting their tenants, that we will take robust action against them. And in fact, we were the first council in the country to secure a landlord banning order. The first council in the country to secure a landlord banning order, I will say that again, and we will never hesitate to take dodgy landlords to court. And we've also got a fantastic positive relationship with the private rented sector, and we will work with landlords who are responsible. We've also got a fantastic relationship with our registered social landlords to ensure that high quality houses for social and market rent is available. And we've also got a fantastic offer so that where people are falling between the cracks, we have one of the most generous homelessness prevention services in the country. So I would say it's an ongoing ambition. However, it has been delivered in the sense that we've got a suite of support to support people here in Telford Wrekin. That's been moved. It's been seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much. And this meeting is now ended.